So last hour, we were discussing, or Hayes, you brought it up, how good Al's brother was on the cold open last night on the panel. And I think you used the words, it was like he looked like an actor, or he had that kind of actor presence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you why, because this was a Super Bowl ad. Not just a commercial, a Super Bowl ad, Joe from the Bridge.
Here, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got quite the matchup today between Snacks.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. As things are about to get kicked off here, the QB takes the snap.
She's got the receiver wide open, deep downfield.
Yes, she hits him with a perfect pass.
But what's this? It's loose. The receiver fumbles it. His teammate scoops it up and brings it in for the touchdown.
Oh, now that's an amazing score.
That's right, folks. Some teams really have that amazing chemistry. And listen to that, Nate. The crowd is still going wild.
Wow,
There
what
it
a
is.
shot. What's his
This
name in
guy.
that? Nate? Is he a Nate in that
good.
commercial? Nate's brother. Okay, I like
Nate's brother.
Al's brother. Look at him just putting the sales job on. What kind of chips were those? Those did
They
not.
were like snacks. They were real food snacks,
okay,
man.
All right. Shout out to that company. Shout out to Nate, Al's brother, the whole crew. That's pretty good stuff, Jonas.
That was good acting
Yeah, that was pretty good.
from the ground.
From the ground up. All right. That seemed Al's brother, I'm sure, would be right in on that, the plant-based twist. All right. Well, Al's brother later this hour. We've got picks still to come. Luke Willson will join us on the Cowboys getting a win last night. It was a shootout, though, right? There. Positives and negatives. The Dallas defense is good enough to win. A lot of people are worried about that, Jonas. They are. Yet, Dak Prescott in that offense has been electric.
MVP. I just can't buy him. As
I think Dak's in the top 3 right now. I think he
Dude,
should
he'll
be.
get
Look at his
the
numbers last
MVP.
night. Look at his
They'll
numbers
get the
last night.
MVP. The Dallas Cowboys, that market and how much pub and how many people just talk about it, he'll get it. He'll get it. If he keeps trucking the way he is, he'll get it.
He deserves to be in the running. Like his stats again last night were outstanding. His stats have been great. They're winning ball games.
If you were voting today, who would be the MVP?
I don't think there's a clear-cut guy.
I know, but let's say you.
If I had
Oh,
to,
what about you?
if I had to, I'll say Dak.
Wow.
I'll give it
I'll
to
go
Dak
McCaffrey.
Prescott.
I'd go McCaffrey.
See, that's like I think that pick makes more sense. Like
McCaffrey?
Yeah.
But he just doesn't
Or
have the
like
ball in his
Tyreek
hand.
Hill, or like
Dude, so what? It's still an unbelievable, incredible performance. And I would actually I might go Stroud second after McCaffrey. I'm not kidding.
He's
I'm
been
not
that
kidding.
good.
yeah, that's not crazy.
He's got a big one this week, though, man. They got Denver in town, like coming off the loss last week
Yeah.
to Jacksonville.
Denver's
Houston's
pretty good,
got to win.
too.
Denver's been rolling, but like right now, I think it's Jalen Hurts is probably
He's
number
a
1
favorite.
right on FanDuel.
Dak's
He's the
number
favorite.
2.
Dak is number 2.
That's crazy.
I don't think Denver's got enough love for that streak they're on.
Yeah, you're right.
They were a tire fire, and
they gave up
everyone was
70.
dumb.
Yeah, that was embarrassing, man. That's when Tua was the clear-cut favorite to win.
Yeah.
That's when you realize how long the season is.
But to turn it around and get on the positive side of it, I don't think it's gotten enough love.
Coach of the year.
I agree with you. I mean, and Sean Payton, there's an example. Like he was loud, he was brash, he was.
Remember what he said about
Yeah, but a
Hackett?
garbage coach
Yeah.
doesn't have that turnaround, Hayes. Not in
Exactly.
that league, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the end, he was right. Hackett was a disaster.
The worst coaching job in like 20 years. Isn't that what he said?
He was, yeah. And he even said he believed that team should be competitive this year. It did not look like it early, but they sure are now. They're legitimately in the race.
I still don't know how
legitimately in the race.
Mahomes. I know, what's their record right now in Kansas City? Like their record's
8-3, I think.
I still think he's the MVP. They have no receivers besides Kelsey, and they're still good.
Yeah.
The defense is really good.
They've been great. I think it'll be Mahomes' fatigue, where he set the bar so high
Yeah.
that if it's not, even with everything else you've stated, because McDavid's going to have the same conversation by the end of the year. They won again last night.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've won 4 in a row. They're starting to get back in it. That narrative is going to be loud for McDavid, because the question is, will we remember how bad the start was?
You won't, because when Matthews won the Hart Trophy, he did not have the best start. Remember, he was coming off wrist surgery. It was like, what's wrong? And then 60 goals, 106 points. MVP.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Like if McDavid still ends up winning the Art Ross, has 135 points, they get to the playoffs comfortably.
Good narrative. Turnaround.
Pretty good narrative.
Yeah.
Pretty good narrative. Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN Hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. How you doing, Johnny?
Well, I am well, Hayes. How are you doing? I mean, what was your day like today? Was it tough just getting around town with everyone all over you for your performance last night at the panel. Lead analyst, I saw a DeGero on a forecheck. I'm like, what is I'm like, Noodles and O are just watching you break down the plays. I love it.
Well, here's a little inside baseball. That was O that put that tape together because I don't know what the hell I'm doing in there. O was like, here, I'll go figure that out. You can have the tape. And you're right. It was the first Marner goal. It was a Tavares battle up to Matthews. Yeah. Willie sells it backdoor to Marner. Man, was I on fire.
I saw vision cones. I saw arrows. I was like, wow, he's coming in hot. I like it.
It was fun, man. It was fun. And listen, the Leafies, they got a very familiar win, didn't they, Johnny? It was another 2-goal lead and good start and then kind of a fade. One of their best players had a remarkable night, and that was Mitch Marner last night. And we've had this discussion throughout the hour. Is it a glass half full or a glass half empty when it comes to the Maple Leafs?
It's both. I guess it's a glass stuck in the middle, really is what it is, because you described it really well. So familiar. I mean, we've seen this movie before over and over and over where they just have a hard time either putting teams away or, playing closer to a 60-minute game, which doesn't mean you have the play for 60 minutes. That's not how things go. But just, you don't have long 20, 25-minute stretches where you really are on your heels, and they did have that again in the second and on into the third. Joseph Woll was fantastic. That's really good. And it was so nice to see Mitch Marner where you could see the physical weight of the slump leave his body when he scored that goal. Like, you could see it. He was just moving around differently, handling the puck differently, skating differently, and obviously the results were amazing, the 3 goals and second hat trick of his career. So a lot to like there. But what I found interesting, Hayes, when I was talking to Sheldon Keefe yesterday, he's very much a realist. Like, he understands, like, he's balancing the same two things. Listen, they're on a 103-point pace while not really playing as well as they want to play, dealing with injuries. That's really good. But he's not kidding himself thinking everything else is fine. He understands they're not playing that well. They don't have the kind of control of games like they have in years past. Like, they're kind of just teetering at a 50-50 kind of team, trusting that their great players will win games more than their great play as a team will win games. And it's worked so far, but he doesn't want to trust it to work the whole year, and that's what they're working on. But the coach is very much aware. Like, they're not just cruising along comfortably, even though the points look pretty good.
Johnny, we were talking in the first segment about the Leafs and what their A game would look like. What do you think would have to happen? Because my chime was they need a solidified, balanced six-pack of NHL defensemen, and then you might be able to realize what that team is capable of. Do you have anything different than that answer to find out, like, what is their A game and what could their ceiling be?
Sure. I mean, I think it starts there. Oh, you're absolutely correct. And I think that means you need a number 3 defenseman. And everyone I know is clamoring over Zadorov. Maybe we'll get into that. And yes, he would be an upgrade on what they have available. But who's
number 2 right now?
Well, I'm going to give Brody, because Brody, I know he can't play 28 minutes, but whoever he plays,
he's not a number 2 defenseman. You can put him in that position and say he's a number 2, but he's not.
Okay, well, he's a first pair complement defenseman. Okay, so maybe I need another guy to lead a second pair. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And he might be a number 2 guy, but he leads the second pair, because Brody and Riley are generally pretty good together. And so Zadorov is not that. And there aren't many players out there available who are that, because you want Giordano and Liljegren to be your third pair, and you want McCabe and player X to be your second pair. And Zadorov as player X is not going to be good enough. Better than what they have now, but not as good as they want or what they need. That's what they need first, if it's to become the team that their best version of themselves. And the other part, that I would say, is they need a third line that can play in a variety of situations. And right now, there just isn't enough trust from Sheldon
Jonas
Keefe
Dubas.
for Max and for Nick Robertson, not Yarncroke, they love that guy, but that they can play them in any situation and kind of trust them to be reliable, will also be a little bit offensive. That's got to improve internally, or they have to find other people that could do that. If they get those two things done, then you'll be a very, very good team and have a good chance to make some noise in the playoffs.
Johnny, what does the Auston Matthews performances in the building look like? I know what they look like from the television and in the studio, but in person, is it any different than what me and Hayes and Jonas are seeing?
I think what I see is, amazingly enough, I almost see a guy sometimes that looks reluctant to shoot. Like, I think he should shoot the puck more. Like, I can't imagine he wouldn't be confident in his shot. Why? How could you ever do that with the way he shoots the puck? But
well, you'd have to rewind it and get into places to shoot it. He seems like he's
I'm
not getting
seeing
places.
Anything aggressive out of his game right now, Johnny. Nothing.
Doesn't have it as much. But what times he does have it around areas to shoot, he doesn't shoot. And I think part of that is that he's not getting separation. Right? He's not finding, like, he's not an explosive skater, but he's strong, he's big, and he's good on his edges, and he's able to get into open spots. And he's not being able to get to the open spots, not nearly as much. I think some of that is his line mates, because as great as he is, and he is amazing, Mitch Marner does a lot of that for him, facilitating him shooting pucks. And Willie Nylander's supposed to do that. Willie did not have a good game last night. He was not at his best. So, yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a guy who's trying, and he's trying to do the right things, but he's just not finding the open ice. He doesn't look quite as explosive right now, whether it's confidence, whether it's line mates, gameplay, or just something physical. He just doesn't have the puck and scoring situations as often.
With Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. So we turn the page to tomorrow night, where the Bruins are in town, and the last time these two teams played, it was somewhat of an existential moment for the Leafs after the game when Marchand knocked out Liljegren. We haven't seen Liljegren since. And they had the meetings, and they made sure the whole world knew that they had meetings, and they made sure the whole world understood that they would never allow that to happen again. And I'm curious if you expect something to happen tomorrow night. And I guess on a side, do you think something should happen tomorrow night?
So I guess I would expect something to happen. I expect Ryan Reeves to play, and he might fight Derek Forbort.
That'll solve everything, right?
Yeah, because then that'll answer all the questions and all the which will mean nothing to nobody. What would be great, and I will never expect it to happen, it would be if, this coming from a guy who didn't fight, so if someone said that about me, I'm not comfortable going. If Mike Johnson were to grab Brad Marchand and fight him, even if you don't do well, I still think doing it would be of value. And asking a lot for players who don't do that. You're not going to ask the Big Four to do that, but, could somebody else? Could Matthew Nyes, is he big and strong enough to do that? Max Domi could do it. I think it would be good. I'm not much for fighting. You guys know that, but I don't think it'd be the worst thing for the Leafs if they went after Marchand in a very obvious physical way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think no one should hold their breath that one of the core four would do it, but that's the biggest message if it is one of them.
A Marner-Marchand fight?
Well, if it's Matthews or Tavares.
Well, it can't be Marner. He's got his jaw on fire.
It won't be Marner. And
it isn't the size thing, isn't that against the code?
No, because
these guys don't fight.
The way Marchand's played in his career, he's lost the code.
The protection?
The protection code. Yeah, he's got if a bigger guy goes after him, he deserves it because the way he's played in his career, and he'd be fine with it as well. But if it's Matthews or I'm not going to be Willie either. I guess it's not going to be any of them.
It's not going to be any of them.
It's going to be Domi if it's anyone. Right?
Maybe
it could be Max.
Maybe Domi. Yeah, like Bertuzzi won't. Although Bertuzzi probably should because of the smiling on the bench and stuff. He had to answer for that.
Well, hang on though. I think that smiling was I can't believe the guy's such a clown. Not I can't believe this is funny that my old buddy hurt one of my teammates.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying it was a storyline. It was an appearance thing. But again, I'm not holding my breath. It won't happen. But the biggest message would be Marchand's a captain, John Tavares is a captain. Basically, first shift, we're gonna answer for something that happened a couple of weeks ago. That would send the biggest message.
That would be awesome.
That would be
how
building would go nuts.
Would you be if you did Tavares out there to start and he pops out of the center faceoff dot to go line up beside Marchand on the wing?
Yeah.
How sick would that be?
And it would be and Marchand would drop his gloves 100%.
Yeah,
he would 100%.
You don't have to be a good fighter. You can just tussle and wrestle and whatever, noogie and all
exactly.
that. And hopefully no one gets hurt. But message sent. Not that you're going to change Brad Marchand. We've made this very clear. You're not going to change anybody else's behavior, but you can change the feeling in your own room. That still is true.
But sorry, wait. Can I ask you guys, what will that...
Here we go.
Yeah, no, this actually is a here we go. What will that do? What will that tell us about the team? 3 weeks How many weeks
it doesn't
later?
tell you anything. It tells them, each other, that a guy who's clearly not like that, not wired like that, is willing to go out of his comfort zone to establish a level of accountability for his entire team. And that matters.
3 weeks later?
They're right or wrong, Jonas. That happens all the time.
Jonas, okay, you say 3 weeks later. Yeah, okay, it's not as good as if it was 3 minutes later when it happened, but it's better than never at all.
Okay, that's fair.
Pat Quinn would say you fight dirt with dirt.
Pat Quinn waited 13 years to get Stan Mikita back.
Yes.
13. That's a vendetta.
Or the other aspect of it is I don't have guys like this, is that you go take a run at Pasternak and you try to fight him.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other way of, like, listen, you go after guys who don't do it. When you do, we'll go after your guys who don't do it. And we'll send Max Domi the whole game trying to fight Pasternak.
Yeah,
You know,
That's what Pat said in an interview. He goes, back in the old days, we used to fight dirt with dirt. You do something dirty to me, I'll do it back.
right. It was understood, right? Like Boston, I don't know what Boston's bracing for tomorrow. I think at a minimum what they but what they should be bracing for is it's going to be an aggressive game. Like the Leafs are going to be on their toes tomorrow. Maybe they're not because the Leafs'
goofy thing about it,
reputation, but
Hayes, is if they just had a scrum and punched him in the head,
It's
it
over.
would have been over with.
Right.
Now you got almost an accidental thing that's blown up into this gigantor thing because they didn't do the right thing in the first place. It would have been over if there's a giant scrum and guys were just, fired up to get at him.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just say this, having been around the team actually more in the last 3 weeks than I maybe ever have been, over in Sweden on the plane, all the rest of it. And I don't want to make this sound negative, but I don't get the sense that that moment has hung over them. Like, I think they dealt with it and they didn't like it after a few days, but they, like you do in a regular season, you got to move past things because you can't hang on to stuff because it's too busy, it's too exhausting. Maybe it stirs up again tomorrow, but I don't get the sense that they circled this game and they've all been waiting for it, and forget about everything else because it's all about what we do on Boston on Saturday night. I don't get the sense that that's top of mind for them.
Mike, I want to follow up with you on the Auston Matthews things because Hayes and I were disagreeing earlier, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have to factor in the defense in some of his and Marner's struggles. Like, it's not the whole thing. Do you think that's fair? Like,
Why? What's
Sure.
the defense doing with William Nylander?
well, that's a fair question. Those guys are used a little bit differently, but let's let Mike.
Go ahead, Mike. Go, Johnny.
Yeah, well, obviously, the less time you're in your own end, the more time you have the puck in the offensive end, the more likely it is you're going to get something done offensively, and you have more opportunities. And I think that Austin specifically, because he plays center, you mentioned the zone starts, like he plays a lot of defense because they don't trust Robertson. Camp gets scored on every time they're on the ice with Reeves, and Tavares, they prefer to start offensively. So he eats up a lot of defensive stuff and then ends up playing. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I bet if you were to say defensive zone time per game, he would be way up.
It's up.
The amount
I
of
looked.
time.
It's up.
Okay, so he'd be up the amount of time he spends down there, and so that's a function. It's just simple. If you don't have the puck, if you're in your own end, you're not going to be able to go score it or create as often. So yes, that's on him, but that's also on the defense core that has a harder time stopping cycles, clearing the puck, making good passes, transitioning up to offense. Yeah, that would impact everyone, but maybe him as much as anyone because he's down in his own end to start, I think more than anyone on the team.
I think what really kind of amplifies where Matthews is at is if we were to list out, I think all four of us could come up with our 3, maybe 5 MVPs on this team. I don't think he's on the list.
No?
And that says something that Willie would collectively be on it. I think Morgan Riley likely. And I said earlier, Johnny, I think Joseph Woll is making a strong case. I mean, he's 6-0 in shootouts and in overtime. He's 3-0 in the shootout, which I understand. It's a skills
Still matters in the regular
competition.
season.
He still accounts, right? And he's the goalie of record for the double tap. And, his numbers are pretty good. He's got a .917 save percentage. This kid, this is a story long overdue in Toronto, and he looks really composed and not overwhelmed by the moment or the market whatsoever.
And when you factor in the way that Samsonov has played, it has made it all the more important. It's not like he's going in there backing up or subbing in for a guy who's on top of his game and there's no pressure. There's been a lot of pressure on Joseph Woll to be good because the other guy hasn't been good. and he has lived up to it. And you're right. He does have the demeanor of a guy who seems pretty comfortable and calm and unaffected by the noise that his position provides in Toronto. And he gives them a chance to win. And, I heard you saying, like, it'd be great to see a game where your goalie didn't have to be excellent, but he has had to be. And when they've won, he has been. So I don't think it may go back and forth again this year a couple times, but there's no doubt that there's a 1 and a 2 now. And Joseph Woll is the 1, Samsonov is the 2. I would assume Woll plays tomorrow again.
Yeah,
and it'll be, and that'll be what, 3 or 4 in a row, and that's a pretty good run in net for one guy when you thought it would be at best a split or more likely going the other way for Samsonov.
What did you make of the Nikita Zadorov trade last night, going from Calgary to Vancouver?
So, a couple different thoughts on it. Okay, everyone's like first rounders, and before he was traded, I'm like, no, he's not going to go for a first rounder. Like, look at what other similar players get traded for. Luke Shen was a third rounder. What was Jake Chikrin with 3 more years at $4 million? Was like a first and a third.
Johnny, people don't watch. There's some people that thought this guy was Chris Pronger because he was 6'5". It's like,
right. He scored 14 goals once and had 4 assists. Like, no, he's not. Like, so the return may be a bit lighter than I thought, but much closer to what I figured than what was being bandied about. What I want to try to reiterate. So, like, I will concede and acknowledge that the Leafs should have played a third and a fourth rounder if they were trying to upgrade their third pair, because he would do that. But they're not trying to upgrade their third pair. They need to take their assets and their cap space, whatever comes available when Klingberg gets put on LTIR, to upgrade their second pair. So that's where they have to save for. It would make no sense to spend, even though he might help their team right now, he's not helping what they really need long term. So I get why they would say, like, listen, we'll take him at $1 million or $2 million because that makes more sense financially. But we can't take him at 4 because we need the 4 to go get somebody way better. And so now if they don't get that guy, talk to me in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If they don't get a top 4 defenseman, then you could say, yeah, that was a miss. They should have got Zadorov and paid a little bit more than Vancouver did and taken on the salary. But it tells you what, like, they traded him in the division to a team they will be battling for a third and a fifth. Tells you what the marketplace for him was, which was light around the league.
Yeah, and like that is the interesting thing. Like Vancouver, they obviously have had a great start, and they're believing they can keep this up, and they want to improve and take a run come playoff time. Yet Calgary's a point out of a playoff spot. So, was this them announcing that they're officially taking a step back and retooling, or was it this guy publicly announced he wanted out, so they're like, you're gone. We don't want you anymore.
I think it's the latter. You wanted out, you made it noisy, and we're not going to re-sign you, obviously. So we'd rather, as much as we like you, we'd rather get rid of the distraction and get rid of a guy who doesn't want to be here and move forward with a group that does want to be here. And again, if he was that good, the team would probably bite the bullet and be like, you know what, we may not want him here. He may not want to be here, but we're going to keep him around a little bit longer to help us. But the fact that they're willing to trade him for that return at this moment while they're trying to crawl back in the playoffs tells you that he's a third-pair defenseman and not a bad one. But he's probably not much more than that. And if you expect him to be much more than that, then you're going to be disappointed.
Oilers with a big win in Winnipeg last night. Yeah, they dug themselves such a big hole. They've won 4 in a row. They're still 5 points out, but you got 60 games left. So, like, that's all you need. You get 4, 5, 6 wins in a row, and it's like you can breathe a little bit easier. And last night was impressive, though. Like, that was
a good win.
That's a good win. Yeah,
that wasn't powered by McDavid's craziness or a power play that scores 5. That was like, we're playing defense, grinded out game. Our goaltender was pretty solid. We protected him pretty well. Our big guys didn't do that much. They had 1 point each on a power play goal. Yeah, that was a much better game. But what they've done, though, Hayes, is yes, they're close, and you look, they're 5, 6 points out. But they can't afford to lose 2 and 3 now. Like, they have to play really well, go on 5, 6, 7 game winning streak, and then start playing at a normal clip. They can't then drop for 3 in a row because then they'll lose, they'll drop 4, 5, 6 back again. So, they've tightened up the margins, but they're trying to track down who? Arizona,
St. Louis,
Nashville, St. Louis, Seattle, all teams that they're better than.
Yeah.
So
John,
They know it.
I think they're still going to make it. They're still going to make it.
Johnny, before we get you out of here,
Mm-hmm.
if you could make an assessment and put it in a number out of 10 for Hayes' performance on the panel last night, just from things you've heard from outside people, what you saw with your own eyes, if you could wrap it all up and give it one number out of 10, what's your number?
You know what? I want to give him a terrible score because that's how I'm wired, but he wasn't that bad. I'm gonna have.
He wasn't that bad.
Wasn't
Come
that
on.
bad.
I'm gonna give him I'm a tough grader. I'm gonna give him an 8.2.
I'll take that. That's the
You
Wikipedia page.
Jonas,
update.
do you want to chime in with
Thank
a
you.
number?
I only
8.2.
saw the beginning. I didn't see.
You were at the game
I
last.
was at
yeah.
the game. I think like an 8.5.
Thank you, Jonas.
Yeah.
See,
I'm
How
a 10.
many takes
I'm a
did you
10.
take a lap? How many times? I think you got to take a lap. How many times did
it was
you do
two.
that?
We did. It was two, and that was the best version. So you can put that into perspective. Acting
I
is
will
not
say-
my specialty.
O's was awesome. He was on the email. I was howling, and then I'm like, they did the recut. I'm like, that didn't feel like it was the same take.
No.
That was not a Scorsese one pan camera. That was a couple different cuts.
Dude, it's 10
Although-
years of doing goofy stuff with Duffy
Oh,
where
God,
he's like,
it was so
he's
funny.
like, oh,
I loved
for
it.
years he was like, you can't look like you're just a guy. You have to look like you're. The guy rubs off on you. He wants you to get into it. You got to
Yeah.
look like it's an acting
I
job.
know. Duffy
You
was.
pulled it off.
It was.
And having Al's brother on there, I mean, I don't know if everyone, like, if you headphones, I'm like, I thought that was hilarious,
Yeah.
too.
He crushed
I thought that
last
was well
night.
done.
Al's
Yeah.
brother could win an Emmy for that performance last night. Like he was great. And there's a lot of
Supporting actor
buzz.
in an opening. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a lot of buzz about that. All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there. Thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
All right, boys. Have a good weekend.
There's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. You want to play it quickly, the intro, because like we keep referencing it. Maybe we have a new audience up here at TSN4, right? Do we have
And
it,
it's a
JP?
cold open.
It's a
so
cold
before the
open.
show actually starts, it's just a quick little comedy thing.
Let's roll it.
What the?
Al's brother.
Oh, come on. Jimmy, I don't know. Somebody put him on the email.
I'm sorry. I can't do this. This is a joke.
James, it's an overdrive night.
Sorry, buddy. I think you got to take a lap.
But I got tremendous information.
See, Al's brother sold that. Yeah, I got to work on my acting skills. That had a Source commercial vibe to it. Where
Dude.
love it.
Thanks.
Man, was that a bad commercial? We're goofing on Al's brother's commercial. We had a Source commercial like 10 years ago, Jonas.
I remember.
Remember that? It was worst acting ever. And I was driving the
Worst.
bus on how Noodles wasn't great either.
Jeff, you were
Really
pretty
uncomfortable.
good. I got to give it to you.
Oh, it was pretty good actually.
Yeah, that
could
was
act.
legit.
Can act. All right, Luke Willson coming up. Timo and Wilson +8 on Hayes and Bro. It's not good. It's really troublesome. I had the hat here yesterday too for Al's brother, and I forgot to give it to him. But we're coming up with picks, and we'll break down what happened last night in that Cowboy game and
I'll
a
tell
bunch
you
of
what,
big
man.
games this weekend.
It's
Go time. We
no,
can't
it's
miss
all.
again.
If we dummy you this weekend, we got to switch up the teams, and someone has to assume all the points.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right, picks. Big weekend. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. There's my main man, Al's brother, who is in line for an Emmy based on his performance last night in the opening of the pregame. We watched your commercial earlier this
How'd
hour.
you get that
too, Al's brother.
commercial?
That was a phenomenal
Like, did you just audition
commercial.
for a random commercial?
No, so a guy I went to college with, he was a roommate of mine years ago. He works in TV and film, and he had a buddy who was looking for like a sportscaster for some commercial that they were doing. That was like a vegan snack foods commercial too. Like, it's not even close to anything that I would ever put near my mouth. But they're like, oh, I know a guy. He's on TSN. Maybe he'd be a good fit. And,
Yeah.
like a buddy called me and he's like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And He's like, yeah, we're putting it out on the Super Bowl, so it's technically a Super Bowl ad. I'm
Yes,
like, oh, okay.
you crushed,
Interesting.
man. You crushed in that, and you crushed in the Open last night. And during the quiz, it was heartbreak for our boy O-Dog last night, where, the running bit continues. You cannot win the belt. And I thought I did a decent job on the quiz. Noodles was good, too. But it ends up going to Luke Willson. Luke comes out of nowhere last night.
To my music, first of all.
Music.
To my music, which
right.
I thought was insane.
I agree with you. All right, Luke's on the line. Luke, how do you explain using Als Brother's entrance last night on the Leafs panel?
First off, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin's, not Al's brother. Let's set the record straight there. Secondly, it was not the Al's brother mashup. Third, I didn't really have a choice in the music. I wasn't really the one calling the shots.
Right.
I'd also like to clear some air right now. Hayes, I saw your tweet trying to drive some division between me and Partsy. That's clearly not the case. The belt went to Team Owen Wilson. I heard that my guy was getting snubbed. I had to step in and secure the belt for the squad. See, we think as a team.
Okay. That's right. But these guys don't understand that because they were not pro athletes.
I only saw one guy handling the belts.
I only saw that too. I saw that last night too. And all I could think of was when you walked in, I didn't know who you had picked. I was yelling at you, trying to get your pick, and you yelled Seahawks plus 9.5. And it turned out to be a pretty good pick, man. You guys are plus 8. What do you make of that game last night before we get to the picks for this weekend? Like we were talking about Dak. That should improve his MVP odds the way he played last night.
He couldn't have played better. And it was funny because it obviously was a shootout, and I'm watching the game. And late in that second half, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, obviously I'm pulling for the Hawks. I'm like, here comes a Dak moment. Where's the Dak moment? And it never came. The guy was almost perfect. And I thought from top to bottom, like, he couldn't have played better. He was very accurate throwing the ball. I thought he processed the decisions very, very well. If he needed to, extended plays phenomenally. I thought about that one should have been sacked in the fourth quarter. CeeDee Lamb was obviously the main guy, but Cooks had a bunch of yards. Ferguson had a bunch of yards. Both those guys had TDs. And I thought that their run game was subpar. Pollard had a few carries late that kind of juiced the numbers a bit. But other than that, it was not consistent. I mean, Dak put the team on his back. They were down. Seattle was scoring at will. And the man balled out. So, yes, as far as MVP talk, he should be in that conversation with Hurts. And also, I know he's not a quarterback, but for me, CMC should be in that chat as well.
Yeah, and what a game we got this weekend with the Niners at the Eagles. And that's one of the games we'll be playing. That's actually the game you'll be playing. We've got a 3-pack of games to get to. Als Brother, you and I, we have got to start cooking here, man. We got to put the vegan food on the sideline and start really mixing it up here. We need to get the barbecue sizzling because we are in a deep hole in a dark place.
You're in trouble right now. You're in a dark place. And if you get dummied this weekend, it's game, set, match. This segment officially will suck.
Well, let's hope that's not the case. We're not done. There's still a lot of games left, right?
Okay, I'm letting you two know. I'm letting you two know right now.
Okay.
Oh, I just can't believe I made that hand signal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the ratings for this segment depend on you guys having a good weekend.
Okay.
So I'll leave that with you.
All right, Als Brother. We are on the Houston Texans, Denver Broncos. Houston at home laying 3.5. Tremendous information, please.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good game, though. You got two teams who are kind of peaking right now. Houston, they won 4 of the last 6, but Denver's won 5 in a row. And I agree with what you said earlier. They deserve a lot of credit for what they've done because they've actually played some pretty strong teams. They've got the top 10 strength of schedule throughout the season this year. But with the number moving to 3.5, that's kind of a magic number in the world of sports betting. I think it has me leaning to the road dogs here. I like Denver. I think, yes, C.J. Stroud, he's been the runaway favorite for the Rookie of the Year, potential MVP candidate, but they haven't faced a lot of great defenses. They've had the 9th easiest strength of schedule this season, and that Broncos secondary is legit. They're for real. They're ranking 4th in the last 3 weeks in terms of quarterback rating allowed. So I look at Denver. They've had a terrific turnover margin. Russell Wilson's turned into a game manager, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions over this 5-game winning streak. If he can continue to protect the football and Sean Payton's team can continue to play for him the way that they have, I think this is a group that could definitely cover that number at 3.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm locking in. This is a playoff implication game. I mean, they're both 6-5.
Yeah.
Neither team is going to win their division. I mean, Houston has a chance at Jacksonville, but I think that ended last week when the Jags went in there and beat them. I think it's over. So this is a wild card race game. Denver's been good. Russ is cooking. I don't care how anyone else wants to define it. I don't think he turns the ball over. I think he manages the game well. 3.5. I could see it as a field goal game. We'll take the points.
For sure.
Yep. We're absolutely on Denver. Love Sean Payton. Always have.
Did you not hear O-Dog just say that you need to win to keep the segment going?
Yeah.
And then you, in the same breath, you go and take Russell Wilson, who threw for 134 last week against C.J. Stroud. Oh, did we forget that D'Amico Ryans, who comes from San Fran, knows Russ like the back of his hand, is the head coach for the Texans? This is the most insane pick of all time.
No, it's not. It's
Partsy,
game management.
thank you, Partsy.
It's game management. It's 3.5 for a reason because this is.
Be serious.
It's game management.
Be serious taking the Broncos.
Well, here's where it actually spins because
They're going to have some black bean soup in their undershorts at halftime. I guarantee it.
Well, this is where you guys are going to spiral out of control because you have no idea who to pick in this game. The game of the year. Niners going across the country against the Eagles. The NFL trying to hook up San Fran, making sure this isn't a 1 o'clock Eastern time game. Yeah. Gutless.
We only got this pick because they test legends, and our team, we're ready for this test.
All right.
Partsy, take it away.
Niners laying 2.5 in Philly. Who do you like and why?
Here's my thoughts, and Partsy, I'm going to put it out there. I will go either way on this. I don't think there's a bad pick here. I agree with Hayes when he says this pick it's almost impossible to make. I don't know which way it's going to go. Right now, my gut and my lean is actually on Philly. Statistically, I like San Fran. I think San Fran should handle their business, should win this game. But that being said, I looked at a few things here. First and foremost, Philly, a little chip on the shoulder from last year. And, I like kind of last year, meaning like they said they didn't deserve to beat them. Brock Purdy got hurt, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see about that. The Philadelphia Eagles' run defense has been very bad the last 2 weeks, but I think they wake up this week, stuff this Niners run game, and make Brock Purdy beat them, which I don't think they do. I also love Kevin Byard, the new safety they got from Tennessee. He's making the back end a little better. And Philly seems like they're just a team of destiny right now. I think they find a way. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think they find a way to win. That's where my lean is. I think Philly goes. But, Partsy, if you have strong feelings elsewhere, I can entertain it.
Let's see it.
What I was going to say, Luke, is the dynasty season, or however you describe Philly's season. What are they? 10-1 right now.
10-1, yeah.
They're 10-1, and they almost threw a pizza up to the Buffalo Bills. It's like, aren't they due for a bit of a slip up? Is my only thought process when it comes to this matchup. It's like when you get a real quality team like the Niners going in there, like, I don't know. They almost choked one away. I'll go with you. If you want the Eagles, man, we'll take them.
Fergie, confirm or deny who you're taking, Fergie.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Who do you like here?
As a pro athlete, I'm sticking with a pro athlete, and we're going with the Eagles.
Eagles.
I think it's a good call.
I like it.
I like it.
That's a horrible pick. The Niners are the best team in football. They have been since the bye. Brock Purdy's going to go there and absolutely cook. Your boy CMC.
You and the guy on the screen never played in the league. My Partsy played in the league.
So what? I love the Niners.
You don't think he knows how to handicap this and assess the situation?
I think if it was a 1 o'clock start, I'd be on Philly.
There's a reason why we're +8.
No, come on.
The game of football is different today than it was a couple of years ago, so we can all agree with that.
Right,
but look,
brother.
I look at this.
What?
I mean, there's a reason why Philly is favored.
What does that even mean? What do you mean?
It means that Philly is favored for a reason, fellas.
Yeah.
The San Francisco defense is elite, right? This is the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL.
What's Philly's?
15.5. Philly has a good defense as well. I think that this is going to be a great game. But here's the kicker. Philly's offense they need a run game to get going. They're going up against one of the best run defenses in the NFL. It's expected to be a little bit of rain if you check the weather, and that might be a little bit choppy for this Philly offense.
I'll end this right now, Als Brother. I'll end this right now.
I love that, Als Brother.
I kind of was leaning towards the Niners, and you two donkeys both agreed. Therefore, it's the wrong pick. So I'm going with my Partsy and the Eagles. Let's roll. Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
All right, Als Brother, the nightcap. This is where I have to recuse myself here. Yeah, go ahead. You want to chime in?
I've got a question. I was wondering if I could float a proposal for the night game.
What is
something you guys might be interested in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hayes, you went on Jay Onright's show and you claim that you think the Packers are going to win.
Yes.
You guys are in a desperate situation. You lost the Thursday nighter. You're clearly going to lose the 1 p.m. game with one of the worst picks I've heard in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance you lose the 4 p.m. Right now, is the spread 6 points?
It's 6.
Do I have that correct?
Kansas City, a 6-point favorite at Lambeau.
And Partsy, feel free to step in here, but I would offer you this. If you're willing to take an alternate spread, a smaller one, and pick the Packers, like you said, I'm considering giving you 2 wins. Now, if you lose, it's 2 losses and the season's over.
Well, you know what? Let's see how big
spread?
your stones are. What are your stones? This segment's called How Big Are Your Stones?
Well, Als Brother, here's the issue. I was about to say before that little option was laid on the table, I almost need to recuse myself from this pick because when it comes to Luke, generally the Seahawks, last night notwithstanding, certainly whenever he picks a Lions game, I can't see it with the Packers. Like, I understand my bias. They're coming off a long week. They look great in Detroit, one of the wins of the year. They have looked a lot better recently. Mahomes has never played at Lambeau. I think it might trip him up. I don't know. We'll see. It's possible, Jonas. It's possible.
I got to say, I can see why you guys have the record.
I'm curious. He said we got an alt line here.
Yeah, what does that look like?
What are you proposing? What's the alt line? Are we what's the number?
No, see, you know what you know what that means, Als Brother? He likes the Packers to cover the 6, but he doesn't think they cover the 3.
No, it doesn't.
That makes no sense.
Yes, it does.
He feels bad for you, I think.
Kansas City wins by 14.
Do you think
14
so?
points.
No,
you were the one, Hayes, who went on national television and said you think the Packers are going to win.
I do. I do think they're going to win. I think they go on a run all the way to the playoffs.
Hang on a sec. Win outright?
Possibly if they beat Kansas City. Have you seen the rest
what did you say? What did you say?
I said on Monday I was a little fired up. Admittedly, I was saying it was a good segment. Jay and I were kicking tires on a lot of topics. And on the way out, he just said, "Hey, how about your Packers? They got a big win." And I said, "Sunday night, Kansas City. You'll be on right after the game. Mark my words now. Packers shocked the world. They beat Kansas City at Lambeau on Sunday night, and then go on a run and make the playoffs."
That's a moron.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. So look at their schedule, and they're peaking at the right time. At the right time.
3 weeks ago, you were deeply concerned about Jordan Love. You're like, it started off good.
Did you watch him last week, dude? He looked great in Detroit.
He was dicing up that
3 points, 2 wins.
Yeah. No, I don't think so, Als Brother. I know it's gutless, but
Wow.
Where are you at, Als Brother? You speak on this first. Give me your answer on how you feel about the game.
Well, it depended how big of an alt total he was going to give us. If he was going to give us like Green Bay by 10 and give us like a plus 10 on Green Bay, I think I'd be leaning there. But if we're sticking to the KC 6, I think we got to go with the Chiefs here. I know you hate to do it, Hazy B, but I don't think what we saw from Jordan Love last week, I don't know if that was real. This Chiefs defense is elite. Spags going to dial it up, and they got the number 2 sack percentage in the NFL. I really think that the Chiefs will be able to establish a run game. They got Rashee Rice, finally a weapon for Patty Mahomes. I think they win this game by a touchdown. I would like to go with the Chiefs here.
This is where it gets complicated. Because that is
King
tremendous.
Daddy Topper, Hayes.
Yeah.
King Daddy Topper. The streets are saying that Taylor Swift is expected to be in attendance, and you know exactly what I mean.
What's her record this year?
It's undefeated.
4-0
but there's like no luxury boxes at Lambeau. Where's she going to sit? Like Lambeau was
with the people. She'll be with the people. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm scared about this. Can you give me till the end of the show to announce that? Are you cool with that, Luke? Give us like another hour.
Yeah, I'm cool with it, Hayes. I'm going to say one thing here.
Okay.
I'm going to say one thing. I know you've done the math. I know that you know Me and O-Dog right now, there's a magic number out there. I know that you're lying about feeling good about the Denver pick. I know that.
No.
Okay? This is your shot.
All right, then you got to be reasonable on the line. The line can't drop 3 for a 2-pack, and you guys get 2 wins too. I mean, I'll do a 3.
What's the line to drop to? What's the
I don't think it should drop anything, quite frankly. But
no way. I'm gonna give you the same line, an extra win.
But you get an extra. You just said you get a win too if you end up winning. Like if we butcher this, you guys get 2.
Gambling. That's what.
Exactly. So if you want to put a 2-pack on the line, I'm cool with that. I'll take the Packers right now +6. I'll do that right now.
We're up 8 points. We're up 8 points, Hayes. Why would I risk anything?
Because, well, then don't. But that's what I'm saying. There's no benefit to us because you guys are going to have a 2-point swing if we get it wrong. And we're giving points. That doesn't make sense.
I'll consider 3.5, but that's as far as I'm going.
No, goofiness. Goofy. We can't do it, right, Als Brother? All right.
Don't think so.
It's off the page. It's off. Fine, Als Brother. You know what?
Hayes?
Kansas City, lock it in. Kansas City, lock it in.
Chiefs when the Packers win this game,
yeah, I know.
And you not only lose the pick, but you could have had a double win. Just don't be mad at me. Blame it all on Al's brother.
Al's brother, this is a real fork in the road for us, man.
It could be, but Hayes, I know they're your pack, but I do like the Chiefs.
Okay, I will recuse myself. That's why I'm a good team player, and we are a great partnership. Chiefs -6 for 1. 1 point, Chiefs -6.
Gotta fly, fellas.
Gotta fly. See you, Luke. See you, Als Brother. All the best.
Yeah.
Als Brother. See you later. There's Als Brother and Luke Willson. Picks are in. We'll recap those. And Jerry D's coming up, our buddy Jerry D. And James Myrtle's coming up. We got the Myrtle coming back.
What did we call that segment last time?
We got to remember that. It's a good one. We got that coming up in about 15 minutes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, James Myrtle coming up. Jerry D in the next hour of Best Bets. We'll get into the baseball rumors. Shohei Ohtani still technically available. And your boy Juan Soto, he's out there, Jonas. Everyone knows the Padres are going to trade him. I guess now Ken Rosenthal, your guy at the Athletic,
oh, don't
is saying, that the Jays are kicking tires on Juan Soto. So more on that in the final hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.